Welcome to Oracle of Confidence. I'm about to tell you a story about something tiny, so small you'd walk past it without noticing. But that tiny thing created a complete life transformation. And I want you to understand what made it work, because the same tiny thing could be waiting for you right now. Most people are looking for the big moment, the dramatic turning point, the sudden opportunity that changes everything. But the research on transformation is different. The biggest life changes don't come from big moments. They come from tiny moments that have massive leverage. It's like a butterfly wing flap in one location that creates a hurricane somewhere else. The butterfly doesn't know it's creating a hurricane. It just flapped. But the cascade of consequences is enormous. Nathan is 37, successful business owner. But Nathan wasn't always this way. 8 years ago, Nathan was stuck, trapped in a job he hated. Knew he wanted to build something, but had no idea how. Was paralyzed by fear, and had no model for what was possible. Then one day, a random conversation happened. Nathan ran into a college acquaintance at a coffee shop. Not someone Nathan had been close to, just someone from the distant past. They grabbed coffee. It was casual, 20 minutes. But during that conversation, this acquaintance mentioned something. "You know, I've been thinking about starting something too. Want to explore it together?" That was the moment. That single question. 20 seconds of conversation. Nothing dramatic happened. They didn't immediately launch a business. They didn't sign contracts. There was no fanfare. They just agreed to have coffee again and talk about ideas. But something shifted in Nathan's nervous system in that moment. From isolation to possibility. From "I'm alone in this" to "maybe I'm not." They had coffee a few more times. Some conversations led nowhere. But one led to an experiment. The experiment led to a small project. The small project led to a business. The business eventually became quite successful. Fast forward to now. Nathan has built a company that's doing 7 figures in revenue, employs 15 people, has completely different confidence, different relationships, different financial reality. But here's the thing. None of that happened because of a big event. It all happened because of one tiny conversation that shifted Nathan from isolation to connection. This is where the science gets interesting. When you're alone in your thinking, your nervous system operates in a specific state. It's protective, contracted. It can only see solutions that are safe within your current paradigm. But the moment someone else enters the picture, even just conversationally, your nervous system shifts. You can suddenly imagine possibilities you couldn't imagine alone. You see paths that were invisible before. The neuroscience shows this clearly. The addition of a single other person's perspective quite literally expands the neural networks available to your brain. You can think in ways you couldn't think before. So Nathan's acquaintance's question, seemingly casual, actually gave Nathan's brain access to possibility thinking that was neurologically unavailable before. Here's what the research shows. Every major transformation has these tiny moments, and usually the person doesn't recognize them as the turning point until years later when they look back. But the people who compress their transformation timelines, they learn to recognize these tiny moments as they happen, and they lean into them. Tiny moment 1, the casual conversation that opens a new thought. Tiny moment 2, the book recommendation that shifts perspective. Tiny moment 3, the question asked at exactly the right time. Tiny moment 4, the permission granted to try something. Tiny moment 5, the person who says, "That's not crazy, that's brilliant." None of these are big moments, but each one is a leverage point. Each one is a butterfly wing flap that starts a cascade. Years later, Nathan was interviewed on a podcast. Someone asked, "What was the single moment that changed your life?" Nathan's immediate instinct was to say something dramatic. A moment of genius, a bold decision, a risk taken. But when Nathan actually traced back through the years, Nathan realized it was that random coffee shop conversation. Not because it was profound, but because it opened a door that was invisible before. The question to ask yourself, what tiny moment am I about to have that could be a leverage point? Not what big decision. What tiny conversation? What small connection? What seemingly insignificant interaction could actually shift something? Nathan didn't recognize it as important at the time, but the acquaintance showed up. The conversation happened. Nathan said yes to another coffee. Step 1. What area of your life do you want to shift? Career, relationships, confidence, creativity. Step 2. What tiny conversation could you initiate in that direction? Step 3. Who could you reach out to? Who's one person away from giving you a perspective shift? Step 4. Have that tiny conversation, not with expectation of instant results, just to create the opening. This is why leverage is so powerful. One tiny moment compounds into another. One connection leads to another. One perspective opens doors to new possibilities. You're not looking for the big moment. You're looking for the leverage points, the moments that multiply in impact. James Clear says, "We are not our circumstances. We are our leverage, and leverage comes from tiny choices." Subscribe to Oracle of Confidence, and today, do this. Reach out to one person, someone whose perspective could shift something for you, someone who's one step ahead, someone who's done what you want to do. Have a tiny conversation, not with expectation of them solving everything, just to open the door, just to create the possibility. Remember, the transformation isn't coming from one big moment. It's coming from tiny moments you're about to have.